Welcome to video number 6, and we're going to start getting technical, and I'm going to show you how to create a list within GetResponse. And a list is basically the first step. You can think of it like your campaign, and some autoresponder services will actually use campaign as the name of the list. So you'll see list, you'll see campaign, and it's pretty much all the same thing. Now, before we talk about different ways to build your list and different types of opt-ins like single opt-in or double opt-in confirmation lists, and which one is potentially better for you, when you create your lists, a lot of times a question might arise, which is, should you create a different list for every single product that you have? Should you create a different list for every different affiliate product that you're promoting? And the answer for that is this: yes. And the reason why is because when you're creating your list, you want to get as specific as possible. You don't want to have one list that covers 5 different products, because you're not going to know which product is which customer has purchased which product, right? And even if you can segment it further and deeper than that, like let's say somebody has purchased this product, but they also purchased like a one-time offer. Or this other list, you have somebody who purchased product A and did not buy any of the one-time offers. So that way you have a better view of who is actually on that list. And that way you understand exactly what stage they are coming from. Now, what I want to do now is talk about double opt-in versus single opt-in. And this is a very common question that is asked over and over again, and a very, very important question. Now, if you don't know what these are, pay close attention. We're going to talk more about what each of them are. And then, of course, we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages. So single opt-in means if somebody subscribes to your email list, they go to your landing page, they fill in their name and their email address, and that's it. When they click submit, they get automatically added to your list. Now, here is the problem with that. If they do that, there's no way to prevent them from entering a fake email address. So nowadays, most people are very reluctant on giving out their email address. So therefore, there's a lot of email services out there that give you a disposable email address that only lasts sometimes 10 minutes. Now, the problem with that is that when you get fake subscribers, it will actually hurt you in the long run, especially when you email fake emails. Because at the end, whenever you send out emails, Gmail, AOL, and big companies like that, they'll see that you're sending emails to fake emails, and then, of course, they will think that you're a spammer. So what we found is 3 out of 9 times, or even more, sometimes even a half, most people will enter a fake email. So the bad news is if you build a list of single opt-in subscribers, your email service will assume that you're a spammer, and then out of nowhere, your account will get shut down months later. Or worse, you can continue emailing them, but all these different email service providers, or what we call ESPs, like Gmail, AOL, and more, they will start listing you and blacklisting you as a spammer. So every time you email out, you don't know how many of those emails are actually getting to your subscribers' email box. So even the people that want to hear from you, the emails might be going to their spam folder. So this isn't something that a lot of people are told and when they begin, and they normally find out later. So if you don't even know about this, then this is actually very common. Most people don't really realize that this is actually happening. Now, one way a single opt-in can work is if you are getting customers to subscribe to your list because they already trust you. So the only time that I would use single opt-in, in other words, is for people that actually trust you and that have spent money to trust you. Here's what double opt-in is. Double opt-in is when somebody signs up, and let's use the example before where they fill in their name and email address on your landing page, and they click submit. Now, at this point, they're not going to be added to your list. They're going to be added to a sort of pending list. Now, what they have to do in this case is they have to prove that they are the owner of the email. So what happens is they get sent an email asking them to click a confirmation link. And when they click that, and once that is done, then of course they're added to your email list. Now, if they fill in the name and email address and it's all fake, then of course think about that. That email will never reach them. And that protects you by allowing you to build a quality list. So instead of building a big list of 1,000 people, you might be building a list of 100 or 200 people, but these people are basically saying, I want to hear from you. Now, there have been studies, there have been tests. Some say that double opt-in works better. Some say that single opt-in works better. So really, at the end of the day, you're not going to know until you actually test it out. Now, given that double opt-in, if you send about 1,000 people and you get, let's say, for example, a 50% conversion rate, then 500 people may opt in. And if it's a single opt-in, then of course 500 people would be added to your list. But if you do double opt-in, 500 people may opt in, and maybe 100 of those are fake, and maybe you'll only get 300 people to actually confirm their email. But at the end of the day, what we found is double opt-in actually converts better. You're going to get a higher conversion rate, higher open rate, and higher click-through rate. That's going to help you as far as dealing with the email service providers like Gmail, AOL, and all these other email service providers. And your reputation will move up. Your emails, when you send them out, are going to land in people's email inboxes. And of course, because you're emailing people that want to hear from you. So that's why we found in our tests that you will actually get a higher rate of opens, a higher click-through rate. So like I said earlier, the downside is if you send 1,000 people to an opt-in list, that's going to be a much lower conversion rate. But at the end of the day, we recommend that you go for quality versus quantity. So now that that is out of the way and we've talked about the fundamentals and some advanced strategies, let me show you how to create a list within GetResponse and explain some details surrounding this feature inside of GetResponse. Okay, so as far as creating a list, it's actually very easy to do once you understand how everything is laid out. So even though it might take me about 5 or so minutes to teach you, once you get a hang of this and once you start creating a list after list after list, it'll actually be easy. In fact, as I will show you in just a minute, once you have created your list and you've created all the settings and done all that, once you create the second list, you can actually copy the settings from the prior list. So you don't have to set everything up again, essentially. So what you need to do is go under contacts, click on lists, click create list, and then of course, name your list. So we're going to do a new test list 1. And of course, you can click copy existing list settings. So if you've already created a list before, you can select that. You can select the list that you want. So you could select whatever list that relates to that particular product and then set that and click create. So we're not going to copy any settings here. We're just going to do it from scratch. We're going to click create and there we go. So this right here is the new list. So now if you put your mouse over here, you're going to be able to see other elements like add contacts, make defaults, settings, show contacts, show newsletters, and show autoresponders and delete. So adding contacts, what that means is if you have a external list, let's say for example, you have an Excel spreadsheet of a list of customers, then you can click add contacts and you can actually import those contacts into GetResponse. Now I would say be very careful with this. When you do that, make sure you clean your list or make sure that your lists of people are active. Now, the reason why we don't really do this a lot is because when you're just starting out with GetResponse, you're building a reputation, or GetResponse could be ConvertKit, could be any other autoresponder series. You're building a reputation, and the best way to build a reputation is to start from scratch and build a list from scratch and build a double opt-in confirmation list, because then you will get less people who are spammers, fake emails, and all of that. You get people basically who really want to be on your list. Now, make default, all that means is that when you email out, it's going to come from this list. So we don't really want that. Now, click on settings here. And settings allows you to see the name, of course. Now, keep in mind that when you use something like Lead Pages or any other landing page creator and you connect to the GetResponse API, what's going to happen is you're going to see the list name. So when you connect to GetResponse and you refresh the details and you connect Lead Pages, for example, to GetResponse, you're going to see the list name. So you want to make sure that you choose a name that is something that you will remember and that is clear to you. So you want to try to create a naming convention, essentially, because you're not going to see the list title or description or any of that. So what you could do in GetResponse, however, is create a list title and description so that if you ever forget what the list name is, then you can always refer back here and figure that out. Now, the next thing is you can choose the category, as you can see here, and of course the language. Now, right below that is going to show the postal address, which is very important. And this address is going to show on all of your emails. So anytime you send out a newsletter broadcast, which is to everybody, or an autoresponder series, they're going to see your mailing address at the very bottom. So if you want to, for example, rent a UPS mailbox or a post box and put that there instead of putting your own private mailing address, that would be highly recommended for you to do. Now, of course, this just allows you to customize the list. You can add your logo and all of that. Now, if we click on subscription up at the top here, you can see that this option will allow you to receive subscription notifications. So basically, every time somebody signs up on your list, you will receive a notification. Now, this is nice to have in the beginning when you're starting out, so it's kind of like a little motivator. But as time goes on and you start building lists of thousands and thousands of people, you most likely want to select this off. Now, what this here, it says require extra confirmations, double opt-in. What that means is the double opt-in list. Now, if you select this here, what that will do is whenever you create a web form and somebody signs up on that web form, they will be required to obviously confirm that they are real. So we highly recommend that you do that. Now, API subscriptions, what that means is that if you're using a third-party system like Lead Pages and you're connecting through API and somebody signs up through there, unless you select this, it won't be double opt-in. If you deselect this, then it'll be single opt-in. So that's the main differences between these two. Now it says preview pages your contacts will see. So this is very standard. Once you understand this, this will be standard throughout other systems. But the confirmation page is a page your contacts see after they confirm sign up. All right. So if somebody were to sign up via the web form and they click the confirmation link, they'll be sent directly to this page. And then, of course, the unsubscribe page is the page whenever they click the unsubscribe link. So unsubscribe success page basically means the page your contacts see after they unsubscribe. And of course, newsletter directory, your newsletter archive page. We don't really use that unless you want to show people all of your archives. And of course, you can tell the system where you want to host your confirmation page, either getresponse.com or a custom URL. So if you don't want to use getresponse.com's standard page and you want to use your own page on your own domain, you can select this and send them directly over to there. And of course, you got the confirmation message, and you can say, I want this message to be in HTML format or plain text. Now, if you're asking which one is better, it really depends depends, you're going to definitely want to use HTML. Plain text is just plain text. There's no graphics, there's no nothing. It's just plain. So at the end of the day, it really depends on your list. And of course, you can change the confirmation message, which is the message that they'll receive saying, okay, we received a notification that you signed up on this list. Are you serious about this? Or was that actually you? So you can change the subject line to something that's related to what they signed up for. And then the from address is, of course, your email from. And if they want to reply to, you can send them to the same address or a different address. And of course, when you're done, you can click Save Confirmation Message. Now, if we go back over to here and go under the new test list 1 and put my mouse over here. So we went to settings and show contacts. All that does is just shows your contacts. So obviously, if you just created a new list, you're not going to have any contacts. If you do have some contacts, you'll be able to see that information there. Show newsletters basically allows you to do broadcasts. So if you click this, you can do that. And of course, show autoresponders will allow you to create an autoresponder, which we'll dive in further in the next video. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 7, and we're going to dive right in and talk about setting up your autoresponder series. So once you create a list, you need to set up an autoresponder within GetResponse. Now, understanding how an autoresponder works is actually more important than understanding the technical parts. The technical is actually very easy. Understanding how an autoresponder works is crucial, because then it doesn't matter if you're using GetResponse or any other service. This can actually cross different platforms as long as you understand the concepts. Now, an autoresponder allows you to choose when you email your subscribers, the time zone, all of that. Now, a very common question that we have seen is, when should you email your subscribers? Or even how many times should you email your list? And while I can't give you an exact answer, I can say that it really depends on your audience. If you've done the proper demographic research and you understand somebody's typical day and all of that, then understanding when is the best time to email them is actually quite easy. Now, the beauty of GetResponse is that you can set it up to email them following the same time that they signed up, meaning you can catch them at the best time that they signed up. So let's say, for example, that one of your subscribers signed up on Wednesday at 3 p.m. What GetResponse will do is it'll actually detect that, and you could set that within your email autoresponder system and say, okay, email them every day at 3 p.m. or every week on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Now, you don't have to do that. You can actually set it up differently. You can set it up so that they receive an email every day, every other day, or once a day, and then you skip 2 days, and then you go 3 days. Or you could even set it up so that you only email them during Monday through Friday and you skip Sunday and Saturday. Now, the only time that you would want to do that is, let's say, for example, that you're a local business or you know that your audience is not going to be available during Saturday and Sunday. So that's why it's crucial to understand when your prospect is actually near the email, they're near their desktop, they're awake, they're not working, and all of that. And like I said, you can email them based on time zone, which is great if you are reaching people globally. That said, what we have found, though, across the board in different niches is that we found that 10 a.m. or even 10:30 a.m. is to be the best time to email. What we found is weekends are also awful, and they're very awfully low in open rates, but they tend to be higher in quality click rates, meaning out of 1,000 people, you may normally get 400 people to open your emails during the week, but maybe during the weekend, you might only get 300. But out of those 300 people opening that email, they might click through at a higher rate. We can't give you a definite answer with that as well, because different niches are different. Another thing we found is that Mondays tend to be low, and that typically is because people are coming off the weekend, they're tired, and they a lot of times don't really want to check their email. They have to check their email, but they may not really want to check their email, or they're catching up on things and they're really, really busy. But we found that often Tuesdays or Thursdays tend to have higher open rates. Now, if you want, you can go to Google and type in the best time to email your audience in a specific niche, and you might actually get that data. Because a lot of the email autoresponder services out there will actually collect this data and provide that to you. Like I said, at the end of the day, you don't really know. Unless you really know your audience and you know what their typical day looks like. Out of 1,000 people, the majority of people, they wake up, they go to work, they come back. Maybe during lunchtime, they are actually near the computer at 12 p.m. or even 11:30 p.m. You know that. And you know that they come back home. The best time to reach them maybe 7:30 or 8 p.m. during their time. So that's why understanding their typical day and what that looks like is so, so crucial. So now that I've covered some basics here, let's jump right in, go to GetResponse, and I'm going to show you how to set up an autoresponder series using the GetResponse system. So there are two different ways to create an autoresponder series. You can either go under email marketing and straight to autoresponders, or you can go the roundabout way if you're at the contact list section and go under contact lists, go where we showed you earlier and select show autoresponders. But if you select that, you're essentially going to be sent over here. So it's just easier to go here. But I wanted to show you that just in case you have a better idea on how to navigate GetResponse. So now that we're here, we can click create new, and we're going to create a new autoresponder. So this was the new tests list 1. And we could call this like survival meal. So this is obviously for you and you alone. Now on the list, we have to connect the autoresponder to the list. So we have to select this and then find the list, which is the new list 1. So we're going to click this. And as you can see here, I went ahead and selected that. So you need to connect that too, otherwise it's not going to work. Now, right here, this tells you when do you want the first message to be received. So after they confirm that they are indeed real and genuine, then the next thing is when do you want them to receive the email? Now, it's my recommendation that you immediately send them an email. So I would put day 0. And while that doesn't really make sense because it should be day 1, that's how most autoresponders are set up. So day 0 really means 1, immediately. Day 1 usually means the next day, 24 hours after that. So that's that. You can send the message immediately with delay of. So if you select that, you could say, well, I want them to receive it maybe a couple hours later. So the way and the reason why you would need to do that is, let's say, for example, that you're a consultant and you get people signing up on your forms and you say to them like, okay, if once you sign up, we'll look through your details, and if you're legit, we'll start sending you emails, kind of deal. Or if it's a local business, you could specify that I only want to email on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll negate Saturday and Sunday. You could do that as well. So you could send immediately on these days and skip out on Saturday and Sunday. Now, if you're selling info products or software or anything that relies on emailing 24/7 and you don't really want to remove a certain day, you want to make sure that all the checkboxes are chosen. So now what we need to do is we can create the first email. So I'm actually going to dive further into this into the next video, but all you have to do is click create new email, and I'll create the first email here, and then we'll show you how to create the other emails in the future videos. But the message name is the name that will appear in the list of your messages. It's not going to be seen from your subscriber's point of view, but it's just there so that you know what that email is. So if we say survival kits, email 1. And that's just for us. The subject, of course, will be different. That's something that your subscribers will see. So you definitely don't want to put the message name. So we could say something like, welcome to survival. And then when you're done, you click on next. Now, I don't want to cover too much because we're going to actually show you that in the next video. Hello and welcome to video number 8. And in this video, we're going to talk about setting up your emails. So now that you understand how autoresponder systems work and how to set them up, it's time to set up your emails so that we can fill in the autoresponder series and then connect them to your email list. And we'll make sure that you understand everything from start to finish. So let's jump right in. Okay, so I'm starting off where I left off in the previous video. Of course, message name, like I said earlier, is the name for you and you alone. Your subscribers are not going to see this. And of course, subject line is going to be the title or whatever shows up in the person's email box before they click. So you definitely want to make sure that they know that this is coming from you. So if they signed up for, let's say, survival meal kits, then you need to do that. Or if they signed up for the top 5 ways to make meal kits, so you could say, here's your top 5 survival. So you want to make it short and sweet, but to the point. And if you can think of less words to fit what you're trying to do, that's actually even better. So once you're done, you can actually personalize this as well. So we can say first name, here's your top 5 survival guide. And you can add symbols as well. One thing that we've tested and we found that works really well is emojis or symbols, like so. A lot of emails, you'll notice they don't have a lot of emojis or symbols. So if you can add them, that will actually get people's attention. Now, you don't want to do it too much and overdo it, but that's there if you need it. And then we'll click on next step. Now, it's at this point you can decide what you want to do next. You can either choose pre-designed templates and make it pretty, or you can simply go straight to plain text, which basically means there is not really going to be any graphics or anything. It's just going to be plain with links, or you could do HTML editor. So it's really up to you. If you're just starting out, I would highly recommend that you choose one of these templates because they look really nice. And unfortunately, people do judge you by what they receive. Now, it really depends on your audience. If they really just want the content and they want the report. Now, keep in mind that if you are trying to track if somebody actually opened the email or not, you definitely need to use the HTML code editor. The plain text editor doesn't really track that information. But what it does track is if somebody clicks on your link. Because what happens with the HTML code, they'll insert like an image. And if somebody opens like their email on their phone, it'll load that image and it'll trigger the stats to let you know that, oh, this person actually opened their emails. So that's just something to think about when you get started. Because if you only do plain text emails and you do a search on how many people actually opened your email and read it, the data is not really going to be there. All right. So that's why that is important. So let's say, for example, that we're going to go through here. So we got creative agencies, arts, education, financial services, online marketing. So since we're dealing with food in this case, we could select something like this. Now, one thing that I have noticed with a lot of email service providers is that if you insert way too many images, that can actually impact you negatively. Because if you think about a lot of spam email, they tend to contain a lot of images and very few words. So you definitely want to keep a balance of words and images. And you also want to think about, is this going to look right in somebody's email inbox if they're using a mobile device or if they're using a Mac? And there's many different types of resolutions: PC, Macs, mobile devices, tablets, and all of that. So selecting a template is actually very easy. You just point and click and you can get it done. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to choose HTML code editor. Now, this might look a little bit daunting, but it really is not. If you click on Show WYSIWYG, WYSIWYG is what you see is what you get. And what that means is It's an editor, and what you see is literally what you get. And it's kind of like a Microsoft Word processor. You could say, hey, and you personalize this, so you can do first name. Now, this is only going to work if you are actually accepting their first name and last name on your form. If you're only accepting their email address and you put this here, it'll actually say, hey, friend, or even hey, NA. And you don't want that, the NA part. So if you're not doing that, just say hey. But this personalized button here allows you to personalize your email. So you can do first name, last name, email. You can do country. You can do all sorts of different variables, phone number, and all that. And like I said, they're only going to work if you've collected that data, because if you haven't, it's not going to work. So a typical welcome email will say, hey, so-and-so, thank you for signing up. Here is the free report or software or ebook or checklist. Now, if you're following what we talked about earlier with just the emails, you can say, thank you for signing up. Here's the top number 1 or top number 4 way to create your own survival meal kit. So you can enter that information down below here, or you can include a link. So if you were to include a link, let's just use Google for example. So http://www.google.com. So you could do that like that, and you can link it, or you can say, click here. You can highlight that, and then of course you see this little chain. The chain is a link. So if you think about chain link, that's where it came from. So we can copy that here. You can say open this in a new window. So if somebody clicks it, then it's going to open in a brand new window. If you don't have these elements, then what's going to happen is when they click the email, they are going to be forwarded directly to wherever you're sending them. So you could say, here's the top number way, click here, your name, and then you can say PS. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to send you the number 3 way to do blah, blah, blah. So like I'm saying, you don't really need to, obviously, survival meal kit, but you can use it for any niche. But as long as you connect it and tell them in advance, like, hey, there is something coming, then they're going to be excited about it and they're going to look for your email. A lot of times the reason why emails don't get opened up is because people are not looking for your email. They're just shocked and surprised. But if they're aware that it's coming, then they're more likely to be ready to open the emails. And that's why you get higher open rates because of that. Now, one thing I will say is what's nice about GetResponse is down here, when you're done, under test message, you can click inbox preview. And what that will do is it'll show you what it looks like in people's inboxes. So if it doesn't look right, you can always change it around. Now, the spam score allows you to see what your score might be. And in other words, how will your emails get to the inbox, or will it go through to the spam folder? Now, the nice thing about GetResponse is it tells you what you need to do. Now, this isn't really something that you can touch, but these here, HTML right here, there's no HTML tag. So because there's no HTML tag, I got a negative 0.6. So how do we bring that lower? Well, I'm going to show you. If you click on hide WYSIWYG, you're going to see HTML code. Now, don't make this scare you in any way. I'm going to show you how. So if we zoom in here, if we type in bracket, open bracket, close bracket, HTML, open bracket, close bracket, body, all right, and then we go to the very end, go to the very end here. So it's going to look like this. It's going to close, but instead of HTML and then body, it's going to be body and then HTML. So we type body, open bracket, close bracket, HTML. And then the thing that you need to do with the ending tag is a slash. The slash is saying, hey, this is ending, and there. So we've got HTML body, body HTML. You don't need to know what HTML is. You just need to follow that, add those tags to the before and after, And there you go. So as long as it's not like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5, you're good. And that's how to do it. So click next step. And then we look at the autoresponder. Everything looks good. And we can click save and publish. And one thing you could do is up at the top here, when you click this here, you can select the list, which is new test list. And it's going to show you all the email autoresponders in here. So these are all the emails. So if you have a second email, we can add a new one and we can tell it when to send it. So as you can see here, this email is being sent and status is on. Send immediately any day of the week. So if we click on create new and we, let's say, for example, create a new email, and then we can name it. So we'll do survival email 2 and on day 1. So now if you want to do it every day, you can. So you create a new email and then a new email, and it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then 6. But if you want it on, let's say, every other day, so we emailed out on the 0 day, we're going to skip the day 1, and day 2 is when we're going to email out. So it's going to be every other day. And the reason why you wouldn't want to do that is because you want to give people the ability to absorb the information. But if it's really short, straight to the point pieces of content, I wouldn't do every other day. I would just go ahead and start emailing them every single day. So I would do that, do the same process, create a new email, subject line, message name, do the same thing I showed you, and then you'll click save and publish and you're good to go. Now that you have set up your autoresponder system, you can set up your web forms. In other words, web forms are forms that allow you to collect people's emails and their names and get them onto your email list. Now, keep in mind that a lot of you may not need to do this, especially if you're using a landing page creation system like Lead Pages or something else that connects to GetResponse or your autoresponder system through API. If you're doing it that way, you're not going to really need to know how to do this. You only need to know how to do this if you're not using those systems. Now, at the same time, if you don't know how to do this and you've never done this before, I would highly recommend that you actually watch this video so that you have a better understanding of how things work, because there will come a time where you may need to set this up. So with that said, let's jump on over to getresponse.com and I'm going to show you how to set up a web form. Okay, so to create a form, all you need to do is go to this forms and surveys. So click on this and you're going to see manage forms. Next thing is click on create form. And then of course you'll have the ability to create a form. So you can either use the list builder wizard, as you can see here. So this is a variety of different forms. You can create newsletter signups, free course signups, different types of purposes too, like leave feedback forms, Facebook forms, blank forms, order forms, and more. So it's not just web forms, there are all sorts of different forms. But for this purpose today, and in this particular video, we're going to focus on sign up forms. So we're going to click on newsletter sign up. And even though this information has like nonprofit organization, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use that logo. As long as you see something that you like, you can pick it and you can change the graphics, you can change the background, and of course you can change the text. So if we scroll down and we find something that maybe fits our design of our website and our landing page, let's do something like this. Use this template. So now at this point, if you select the items, you can actually change them. So this is a different logo, so we could change it to our own logo, click image, and of course go through the process of finding either a logo or clicking my images and finding your logo. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I try to keep my web forms very simplistic. The text should say something like, sign up for this free report, free ebook, free checklist, the top 5 ways to create a survival meal kit kind of deal. You have to tell people what exactly that they are getting so that they kind of can visualize what they're going to get on the other side. So keep it simple, straightforward, to the point. Enter the name, email, and then sign up for updates. Now, what I recommend that you do, and this is something that has worked well for us, is to change this into something like send me the report. So that way, psychologically, when they click on that, they're thinking, oh, I want you to send me the report, right? If you just have a submit button and that's it, in reality, your conversions are not going to be as high because it doesn't really tell people what they get. So this tells people what they get, but this tells people that, okay, they're definitely going to get something. So send me the report, send me the checklist, send me the report to my email. So that way, the next step in their mind, psychologically, they're waiting to receive an email, right? Now, you can test this out. If you only want to collect emails only, you could remove the name here. But if you do that, just keep in mind that when you customize your emails and you personalize them, you can't say, hey, first name, because you don't have their name. So going through here, these are just elements that you can add. And of course, you have the layout and the style. You can change the design, the color, and all of that. When you're done, you click on Save and Publish. And there we go. So we're almost done. And now there are several different options that you have. You can say, I will install the form myself, and it'll give you a script code. So this is JavaScript. You can click copy. And then, of course, you can add that to your landing page. You can add that to your blog. Now, like I said, if you're using lead pages, then you're never really going to have to even go through this process. This process really is only for if you are posting this directly to your blog or anywhere else. You can also say GetResponse will host my form. So what this will give you is a direct link to a URL. So if we go here, when somebody goes straight to that link, they are then, of course, sent to the opt-in here. I would not recommend that you do this unless it was like a customer or somebody that really trusts you. In fact, I would highly recommend that you use an external landing page creator, or you use the built-in one in GetResponse. And if you do that, you don't even need any of this information. And that's how to create a web form. Hello and welcome to video number 10. And just want to say congratulations, you have reached the end of this video course. This is a bonus advanced strategy that I'm going to teach you that a lot of times you are not taught. And most people don't even realize that this is happening. So kind of going back to what we talked about in single opt-in versus double opt-in. If you create a double opt-in list, you still need to do a little bit of cleaning, but not as much is compared to that of a single opt-in list where you could be getting a bunch of fake emails. So in other words, cleaning your lists consistently and maintaining that every single month. Because like I said, email ISPs like Gmail, AOL, Yahoo, they do care if you have people on your list that are actually active or not. If they're not, that can be an issue. So if you have a list of 1,000 people, and out of that list of 1,000 people, you have 100 people on there that are fake, that will actually hurt your email deliverability. So even if you have 900 people on there that are not fake, because the ESP or email service provider sees you as a spammer, they may not allow those 900 emails to even get to your legitimate subscribers, if that makes sense. So how do you go about doing that by using GetResponse? So what I'm going to do now is let's hop on over to getresponse.com, and I'm going to show you step by step how to clean your list. Okay, so there are two different ways to do list hygiene. And one of the ways is by simply going to getresponse.com, logging into your account, going under contacts, and then of course you will see list hygiene. If you go here, you'll see delete contacts or blacklist. If you click on blacklist, this will allow you to enter email addresses of people that you want to blacklist across your whole account. So to do that, what you can do is go to blacklist, click global blacklist for my account. And what that will do is it'll remove them totally from all of your lists, meaning anytime somebody tries to sign up again, they won't be able to sign up. Now, obviously, they could get around that by entering a fake email if you had single opt-in turned on. Or they could use a fake email address even if you're using double opt-in as well. So this only protects you to a certain degree, and this works actually really well in a lot of non-technical niches, especially. But if you are in a more technical niche like marketing or business or computers or programming, then this here can help you to a degree, but only to a certain degree. And of course, blacklist for specific lists, which allows you to blacklist people for specific lists. But at the end of the day, we recommend doing the global blacklist compared to the specific lists. Now, another way of doing list hygiene and finding people that are maybe not active is by going to click search. Now, another way to do list hygiene is go to search and click on advanced search. And what we're trying to do here is find people that maybe who have never opened an email before or have never clicked a link before. Now, one thing to note here is that unless your emails are HTML emails or template-based emails, you're not going to be able to track whether or not they opened the email. So keep that in mind. Another thing is sometimes some devices won't actually load. If for example, Gmail, if you send an email to a Gmail account, a lot of times if you'll notice it says that the user has to click a link to allow Gmail to load an image. And if they don't click that and they open the email, then that's also hard to detect. So that just keep in mind that unless you have HTML email set up, that's one hard indication to go by. Now, one good indication to go by is if they actually click the link. So regardless of it's a plain text email or an HTML email, as long as they click the link, you can detect that. So what I would go by is people who do not click links. All right. What you can do here is you can do all selected lists, any autoresponder setting. So basically we're saying every single subscriber, and we're going to add a condition. And let's say contact actions. So message open. And like I said, it's hard to detect that. So let's say last click date. So if last click date is before a certain date, and we click apply, and we notice that we have about 100 people who have not clicked any links within the last, let's say, 6 months, then you probably want to delete them, because that means they're most likely inactive, and you're paying for inactive people. I know psychologically you might be thinking, well, I want to keep that list. What if that list were to come back? You put them into a segment, you email that list, and you say, hey, I noticed that you haven't clicked any links. I wonder why and how I can improve my content to fit your needs. Something like that may allow you to reactivate people who just aren't opening their emails. And you got to keep in mind, some people are just busy. So you can do that, but you can do the opposite. And let's say you send that out, nothing happens, and you might get a few people clicking. But then, of course, you have the far and few people that just don't click. They sign up, they forget about it, and they go to the move on to the next thing. So for those people, you can say contact actions last click date is before, let's say, 6 months out. So we click apply. And then now what we do is we see there's a certain amount of contacts down here that we'll be able to see how many people are not clicking the links. So now what we can do is we can save this. We can click this here, this email address, and we can save it as a segment, and then we can email that segment. There are many different ways of doing this, but you really need to get creative and just think about, okay, what signifies somebody who is not active? And if they're not active, I shouldn't be paying for them on my list. And number two, believe it or not, they will actually harm your list. So if you have a list of 1,000 people and only 10% are actually clicking through, or worse, only 1% are clicking through, then because it's a bigger list, you have a smaller amount of percentage. And as you're emailing out, the email service provider will analyze how many people are actually clicking your links. Now, let's say you have 900 people out of that list that are just inactive. So you delete all those 900 people, and then you are left with 100 people. But let's say those 50 out of the 100 people were clicking anyways. Now you've narrowed it down from a very small percentage down to 50% open rate and 50% click through rate. So maybe a higher open rate, a larger 50% click through rate. And that is why you need to clean your list.